I guess there are two things we can do. Either talk on a general perspective on about new issues, or probably well, and designs and everything on a higher level, or just go into some issues that has been worked so far. So Ben, do you have any issue that you've worked these days and need some work or some feedback on a design perspective or something?
I'm sorry, were you specifically asking me that? I'm sorry, the sound was cutting out.
So yeah, I'm not really sure if we should jump. It's the first time that we've done this this way of having the meeting. So I'm not really sure if we should jump on discussing design issues, or more on reviewing current issues that maybe are blocked or something like that. And if there are issues blocked or something, not sure if you're aware about any of them.
Yeah, I think for the time being, you can begin with the design issues because I'm just getting reacquainted, so there wouldn't be anything
Okay.
for me to really bring up anyways. That will obviously change probably by the next meeting. And then I guess based on what I pick up then, I may suggest restructuring, or it may be fine and doing it in the manner you're accustomed to.
Okay. So okay, so on a design perspective, there are several things that, well, there's one thing that I have been working on so far. Well, actually two of them, and one I haven't worked on it, and the other it will be helpful to get some feedback. So let me share the screen. 1 second. So screen, where is the screen? Okay. So from here, open issues. So there are two things here. One is the available updates. I have it open here. So this is the redesign for the whole page, but then we have this page that still needs some styles. This is the one that I haven't actually worked on this one so far. So basically this is what we have right now in Claro, and it will need some small improvements. There's been some discussion here because the designer jumped in and made some proposals like this one, which is nice. It looks nice, but it's not actually taking into account the real blocks of data that we really need. Like, for example, it's adding the not compatible pattern here, which is actually usually in here, and on the bottom we usually have this sorry, no, the includes one that actually, I'm not sure if there's a screenshot somewhere, but it actually can be super long, so it doesn't make sense to move this over here. And well, basically this needs design work. Ideally the sooner the better. And then there's the long-term issue for redesigning the whole page and make some other and bigger changes, more than just changing these details here to something that actually works in here. So basically one of the problems that this has is it doesn't use any pattern that we have right now in Claro. It just uses the styles from 7. So a table with the full background with red and something like that. We haven't worked. We don't have it so far anywhere. So that's the design that he was proposing based on the messages that we have that are with black and the coloring here. But well, as he actually proposed on, I think in here, some other things could be improved. Well, I gave him some feedback here about actually the real things that are needed for the page. And well, so this is something that will need design, and something that I will actually need some feedback from you. From Figma is the issue that needs inline versions for fields and selects and inputs and everything. So it ideally should play with prefix and suffix. And well, altogether it's kind of a huge combination of possibilities that just kind of fight each other. So if this is open at some point, and maybe I can show it to you. Anyway, here's the design that I prepared until the other one loads. So basically, I prepared for different designs. The first is one that is super close to the one that Material Design is using, which is basically placing the prefix inside the input field itself. It looks nice, but the problem is that to have gray that is that has enough contrast to comply with the accessibility minimums. It needs to be this gray that actually it's super close to this other one, which is almost black. So I'm not really sure if we actually get to properly communicate that this is a prefix. Because actually, yes, the person that is going to come here won't be able to edit it, but I'm not sure. Then there's this other one. Well, this one plays perfectly with the inline labels. Then we have this one that is actually, there's a gray and there's the text that is also in gray, and it makes a visual difference from the value and the prefix. The problem is that the moment that you just go to a high mode contrast, we end up on the same place as here, that it might not be visually differentiated. Then there's the third version that actually adds a line in the middle. Right now the test has a different gray, but probably it should be the same border, the same gray as the border one. And this will work on a high contrast mode. This will also work with an inline label, and that might also work with the select, because as we can see, this probably wouldn't work with the select. Unless, well, kind of we kind of change the styles. It could be possible, like fake an appendix here, but anyway, I'm not sure if how easy it will be. So this could work with select box, and it could be visually self-explanatory, I would say. But the problem of this one is that I'm not really sure this actually plays well with inline labels. So any thoughts here?
It's not so easy to have an opinion, I guess, but I would lean more towards number 3. If the border is the same as the one from the field.
Okay.
And maybe it should have some more, but this is just like a visual feedback, would have some more, maybe, you know, some more padding from the prefix to the actual content of the field.
Okay, so more, something more like this.
Yes.
No,
Also, maybe we can play a bit around with the prefix color. Currently it looks, at least over Zoom, it looks quite the same to me. So
it is not. It is not. That's a problem. The problem is that this is using, I'm not sure if you remember, is that it's just that I don't know why Figma it's not loading right now, but there is a gray that is we're using for the placeholder.
Exactly, yeah.
So this is the one that I'm using here.
That's a placeholder one?
Yeah.
It looks way darker.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would the only concern I have would be that you can, you know, that you might think that these are two fields which are stick together.
Yeah.
So
right.
From that point of view, it looks better in version 4. Well, I don't like how it looks, but it's more, you know, you can see that field underscore is not part of the field.
There's no, I realize that there's another problem where just 1 second. I think I found, okay.
The question is also how long a prefix or suffix is, right?
That's where I was going. There is, yeah, this.
Yes.
So it's not that easy. So I guess there is one problem here. We have a problem here. I'm not really sure how to solve it. Maybe we could just make, I wish Figma was working. I don't know why. Let's open it again. So there is this, maybe we could do that like in several lines. No, it's working. We could make this, the whole field set to be bigger, like higher. And maybe we could fit like 2 lines here or something like that. But I'm not sure how it will play with a super long thing in the left and shorter on the right. Like what we were seeing here, maybe we should make this super long and then this super short, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it can even go worse when you have a prefix and a suffix.
Yeah, it goes somewhere here. It was in a screenshot somewhere with that, yeah. Yeah, I guess on a mobile, we should, yeah, work on that. I'm not really sure. Well, I guess we can actually do magic here, and if there is this space needed, there is. Or maybe actually on mobile, we could actually just make one on the top and the other on the bottom.
Yes.
No, it's not loading. Well, so the rest of you, do you think also 3 something that makes sense? Okay.
They just fell asleep of our boring conversation.
No, actually,
Okay.
I agree that some version of that is, that's my preferred out of the options. And I think it's the most adaptable for the contrast modes.
Thank you. Okay, so on a design perspective, I don't have much more to share. There is actually one discussion that we'll need to have in future not far from now, which is the layout redesign, which is actually, it has like several branches. One of them will be probably the off-canvas dialogue redesign, which actually right now, for example, the layout builder is using, but other modules are using it too. Then there's the need to have the sidebar not only on the node form, but also on other pages. And there's also the whole layout redesign that we need to do for Claro. So discussing this, I mean, this really has, so it mixes several things together, and there should be some kind of analysis of how we handle all the situations and all the need that actually at least Claro, Drupal core needs. So this will potentially be several hours discussion with some breaks needed on the middle, because it's going to be a discussion that will need to be concentrated on that. So probably we should kind of plan a workshop or something around that. So this is something that we should plan. I'm going to talk about this on the next UX call to see who's interested on participating. Ideally not more than 5 people or something like that. Will be great to take the most of the online meetings. So this will be more like get on work discussion and try to prototype things and think about different situations that might need some to happen at the same time. Like, for example, having the current sidebar where we have all the metadata, and also at the same time opening off canvas area so they conflict on each other. So discuss this kind of thing. So probably well, I will talk about that on the UX, on the next UX call. So if any of you is interested on participating on that, like several hours, feel free to
when do you already have a plan when this meeting will happen?
I have no idea. It's
because
just like, yeah, go ahead.
Because I already experimented with new layouts and sidebars and stuff like that in my recent things I did for Chin, like for basically like the proof of concept I did for what we presented at DrupalCon Barcelona or something in that direction. So maybe we can also already take some inspiration from there, or some at least some do's and don'ts I already discovered. So
no, that's for sure. So any insight on that sense would be great. Actually, I'm pretty sure of some of the designs that you've made will be like the base of several discussions, because what you did, for example, for the node form where the sidebar, it's not inside the node itself, but it's completely on the right. That's that's one of the directions that we could take. So all your insight on that perspective, or for example, the left sidebar, the toolbar on the left for the menu, which is also great. So it doesn't conflict on the top with several things. So the moment that you start talking about layout, you see that you are actually talking about the toolbar, the menu, the sidebar, the off canvas. So there are a lot of things involved in here. So that's why a really long conversation or a workshop would actually be needed here.
Yeah, also layering, like
exactly,
like which elements need to be grouped and layered, and yeah, it can lead into a longer discussion, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be great. I will let you know if this moves on, and at least if you want to join to the next UX call, or at least I will take that into account to let you know. Anyway.
Yeah, just ping me. Sure.
Great. Okay, so I don't have much more on the design side. If you get a lot of emails because I've been tagging issues with the design, the needs design tag, I'm sorry. It's just I've been doing that today, and to be sure which ones actually needed design or were actually postponed for something else. So yeah, well, I'm sorry for that. And apart of that, I'm not really sure what else needs work. Oh, Laurie just said that he completely forgot about us.
About us or about the meeting?
Well, both.
I recorded it so you can watch it later.
Okay, great.
If I can also share the issues that we're currently prioritizing.
That would be great.
Okay, great. So basically, there's a handful that I'm focusing most of my time on for at least the next couple of weeks. So there's the nested paragraphs, create multiple drag handles. That one had been bumped to RTBC a couple times, but it really didn't get a thorough review. So that's my next step to make sure that it does. We're investigating strategies for, oh, Laura's here too. Great. We're investigating strategies for loading SVGs. The green focus ring, that is, I believe, close to complete. I found a couple small things. Same thing with use drop button variants. There's definitely a little more work needed on modal dialogue style update. I reviewed that yesterday and found that there are some things missing. Toolbar style update is prioritized, but we need to get past the implementation hurdles. Adding buttons to, what was that?
Just one thing about the toolbar. Sasha,
Yeah.
do you think we should try to rethink that now that you have the designs for Gene? Sorry to put here more work, or because Sasha actually made some great designs for the toolbar, and I'm not sure if making all the work for the toolbar right now, that with the designs that we have, if we know that maybe we want to change them. Sasha, you muted. What do you think?
I think a lot of the work will still be needed, right? Because we need to alter maybe like the templates and also like the styling to inject new styling and stuff. So also this might lead to new or other discussions, because like the first thing I implemented into the Chin theme was like a legacy toolbar mode, because that was the most requested thing that people wanted to have the horizontal toolbar back. While it looks nicer on the left, it's just because people are so used to it that it's really hard to change. I think like the Windows team could also, like give some examples about changing toolbars and stuff. So I wouldn't just not do anything there. So for the short term, that we basically can, like the designs we implemented, or the designs we did for the Claro toolbar, just like the redesign of the 7 one or of the current one, I would still want to do that, because I think that goal is easier to reach than to rethink the whole toolbar. You know what I mean? I think that will lead to a bigger discussion.
So basically the current design changes, colors, icons, and
Yes.
pretty much it. So you mean just doing this?
Yeah, because basically this is one of the missing pieces that like the Claro theme looks feature complete just from a actual visual point of view, right? Because this is like the last optical old piece which is missing. And I still believe that like this whole rethinking of the toolbar, should it be horizontal, should it be on the left, like structural wise or whatever, will lead to deep discussions with framework managers and like in the community. So,
and related to the layout also.
yeah, of course that as well, but you know, just for the completeness of Claro and to move forward, I would still do the first step of implementing what we already designed for the Claro toolbar. So just like repainting the current toolbar, basically, that it fits the design, like the new design language of Claro. And then as the next step, going the other route of rethinking the toolbar at all, because I still believe that this will be a long journey.
Okay, thanks.
And we have another part of that process that's necessary, which is currently if we were to override the toolbar in Claro, those changes would only be present on the admin end. And so we need to agree and implement a means of having Claro's toolbar styling be present on the front end theme as well. So that's something that we'll need to work on as probably while you're making some of the decisions you just summarized.
Yes, I think that's a good point. I think like other admin themes like the Adminimal and also like my Chin one would highly benefit from that, because currently you need to install a module which basically is just a wrapper which injects the style sheet for the toolbar. So this wouldn't be needed anymore, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on our chosen approach, shall we? But yeah, that would.
Yeah, but it's a fair point. Yeah, sure.
And then other issues that are currently on our priorities list. So providing a way to add buttons to drop button. So that's addressing some, I believe it's, yeah, just some use cases there, and the JavaScript theme functions for the password confirm widget. And let's see, and then the tables overflow on mobile. So those are existing issues that are currently priorities.
That really sounds good for me. Most of them are active, have been active recently, so that's nice.
So did you talk about the Views UI issue at all?
Yeah. No, I was just going through existing issues. So yeah, let's discuss that next.
What's with that?
Ben, since you are going, do you want to explain or do you want me to explain?
So, well, I guess I'm just not sure how much you've already explained to this group.
So we've discussed it in various different calls. So I think it's a good idea to kind of give a summary to everyone what we could do about solving that.
Okay, yeah. So Larry and I were discussing approaching the redesign of Views UI, beginning with the two of us just trying to hack our way through and find something that works, and then bringing that to design for additional feedback. So while we are not designers, we have a decent enough sense that we would make something that's at the very least workable, and that might be able to accelerate the process and allow us to get this in for 9.1. So yeah, the order of events would be a little different, but there would still be design involvement. We wouldn't, but you'd be starting with what we assembled based on our knowledge of the Views UI and our awareness of the very, very large amount of use cases that have to be accounted for.
So if you have any designers who are passionate about redesigning Views UI, I think it would be potentially then possible for us to try to do like a bit heavier redesign. But right now it seems like none of the designers have been interested in redesigning the Views UI because of the massive commitment it would require. And on the other hand, also, even if someone redesigned it, it would be a pretty big undertaking for anyone to implement that. And we also talked to Tim Plunkett, who is one of the people involved in the bringing Views UI to core and actually implementing the Views UI. And he said that they spent around 6 months full time just building the previous UI or the one that we have right now. So it just gives us a sense of the magnitude of effort it would take to do like a full redesign of the UI.
So it sounds more like initiative itself, right?
Yeah, like it should be, if you want to do like a full redesign Views UI, it probably should be its own initiative. So
is that what you're saying or not?
Yeah, so kind of what,
okay.
Yeah, so I think I think that's, if we want to redesign it, then it should be its own initiative, or it could be its own initiative.
Yeah, it should be in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like a huge undertaking for Claro.
Probably, I think we've discussed that already several times. So probably the MVP for Claro will be just change colors and fix whatever is broken, and that's all. And obviously the next step is redesigning and rethinking how views can or should work. So is there any ideas issue for that? Maybe it could be the place to start.
There is an ideas issue. I can try to find that.
Okay. Okay, maybe that will with that and placing that up to date. So updating the issue with last thoughts and last perspectives that we have for Claro, or these thoughts about just creating an MVP for Claro. Maybe we could then share it on Twitter, and maybe someone could jump in. Basically because otherwise only the people that we know will be able to jump in, which I'm not sure if it's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you say something in the last 20 seconds, I missed that because I was finding a link for this issue.
Okay.
I just heard the last few words and it sounded something important.
Wait, implement a preview first view UI with current functionality. It's, how old is this one?
It's from
Oh, it already has 3 years. Wow. So there is a patch already in there from 4 years ago. Okay, so it says that it's implementing a preview first view UI. So maybe that is the goal of this issue, or maybe we need to rephrase that, or.
Yeah, but that's kind of an issue where a major redesign of a Views UI would be probably taking place.
Okay. That's great that there's already this in there. I don't have much to say here. I mean, it's great that there is already this issue. This needs to happen for sure. This needs a designer fully involved on this and not other things. So yeah, I don't know what to say. So it's great that there's this plan, but are you planning on investing developers' time here so far, or? It's just something that you're planning right now.
I don't think there has been any discussions about forming an initiative around that, but if it seems something important, maybe we should discuss it in some group.
If we discuss on a product level, Gabor, do you think it would make sense to share that on Twitter to find a designer? So if the product managers agrees on having something, an initiative like this one, will make sense to actually promote that openly?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't maybe make sense possibly later. So one thing that we are trying to launch soon is a regular state of Drupal survey that would gather a bunch of like what people's priorities are in terms of what they want to work on and what they want others to work on, kind of thing, and to try to match up that and then see what we think would be the priorities and then try to promote those things. So I wouldn't throw in the let's redesign the views UI as a thing in the middle of it. I think it should have been launched already, and it could launch any time soon. We pre-reviewed it with various community people, the survey, to get a lot of feedback and fixed it, and it's really just waiting to be launched.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any question that we can answer for you on regarding that, Ben and Lauri?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I can, like, if we have like an issue for just the Claro redesign, just like the quick and dirty part of it, I can also put in a screenshot how it currently looks.
There is already one.
Okay, because I can maybe provide like 1 or 2 screenshots in there. I will search for the issue then.
Yeah, send a link to the chat. So if you want, you can post a screenshot on that issue, and I think that would be helpful.
There is an issue of the current design on Claro.
Yep.
There is already a screenshot
Thanks.
there. So you mean that you need to have a current screenshot, or you will post a screenshot of what it will look like with a quick redesign?
Well, I can just put in the screenshot how it currently looks in Gin, and maybe this is inspiration for
in Gin. Okay.
how it could potentially look like for Claro as well, because like they're quite related to each other currently. But this would just be like as we do it in Claro, like the current layout, just it looks a bit nicer and not like the redesign of the whole UI itself. So just maybe like the next smaller step.
Cool.
Maybe it's helpful.
I installed Gin for first time today, and it looks great.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look really nice.
Just don't look at the code because it has so many quirks in it to position everything on the right thing, and you know it's a bit on the hacky side, but yeah.
I can definitely understand what you're saying, because I think we had the same thing with Claro when we
yes.
and now we are trying to fix some of the mess that we created there.
Fully understand that now, to be honest.
Okay. Is there any other thing that you can think of that we need to discuss on the meeting?
Sorry for missing the beginning of the meeting. However, the discussion was helpful, at least what I heard. And I will listen to the recording of the beginning of the meeting.
I was just explaining them that we'll have this layout conversation. And other than that, it was Ben actually explaining us the issues prioritized. Okay, then thank you all for taking the time for joining.
Yeah,
it's been helpful.
Thank you for taking the time. I'm looking forward to working with y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. See you all soon. Well,
Thank
at
you.
least online. Bye.
Stay healthy.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.